Hi, I'm Tom Kraeuter.
And I'm Nick Coetzee.
I'm Grant Norsworthy. This is Worship Think Tank.
Well, let's see what question we have this time around.
Okay.
Hey guys, my name is Josh Carroll. I'm the worship director at Relevant Church in Ybor City, Tampa, Florida. And I just had a quick question for you. What do you think is the most effective way to introduce a new worship song to the congregation? And also, how often do you think this should occur? Thank you.
All right.
Good question.
Great question.
Yeah, we have nothing to say.
Absolutely nothing.
All right. What's the next question? Maybe we should answer this question.
I'll venture.
Please do.
Just in my experience leading worship and directing a worship ministry for a church, one thing I found was useful was actually, if I know I'm going to introduce a song, I would play it in the pre-service music a couple of weeks before. So it's getting into the subconscious of the congregation, whether they know the song or not. So it's like they feel like they've heard it before when we actually introduce it. And then I'd make sure that the band and the worship team are really rehearsed well. So it's not a sloppy version of that song thrown together on the morning because we just didn't get a time to rehearse it. But we go through the parts and make sure we're doing a good job. And so keep the melody as strong as possible. I know we've addressed that before. If people are hearing lots of harmonies and not hearing the melody line, because it's the melody line of a song and the words that really bring a song out. And if people can hear that melody line and don't feel like they're going to have to sing along with it, just sing the song. Don't try and lead them into the song until they've heard it a couple of times. And don't pick a song that's too complicated. Pick a song that is fairly memorable and that has words that can be universal. Like a good example of a great songwriter would be Chris Tomlin, who has some theological content in the verse, but also has some easy to sing choruses. So introducing a song maybe once a month, I would do a new song, not any more than that. So that's my take on it. What do you guys think?
Well, I would say it really depends a lot on the individual church. And how we're going to introduce a song is going to depend on the individual song. Over the years, I've introduced a few songs, not many, that we can just kind of throw in there just in the time of worship, and people get it. It's pretty simple. But a lot of times we're doing the kind of thing that you're talking about, where maybe we're doing it as special music the week before, maybe we're playing a recording ahead of the service. At our church, typically we'll start with a song or two at the very beginning and then have the main time of worship later on. So maybe we'll introduce the song here and then use it again here.
Right.
So that now the people can really run with it. Those kind of things I think can be helpful in introducing. How often? Honestly, I would probably tend to go a little bit more than what you're saying. Years ago, when I worked at Psalmist Magazine, just before I left there, we did a survey of worship leaders all over and asked them, one of the questions that we asked was, how many new songs did you introduce in the last 12 months? Well, we got everything from like 3 or 4 to as many as 75. Now in retrospect, yeah, exactly. I'm thinking we should have qualified the question, because I'm guessing the church that introduced 75 in the last year, that this is a church that is brand new to contemporary worship, and they had just to have a repertoire of songs. They had to but what we found was typically around 25 songs a year. And as I travel and talk to people, that's probably pretty, and yeah, understand, in order to have an average, you have to have people that are below and people that are above. It's just an average, all right? But introducing a song every couple of weeks or so, as long as you let it live in that, we'll usually do a song 3 weeks in a row so that the people get it.
Good.
But
Yeah.
I don't think that's overkill. If you're doing 2 new songs every week, that's probably pretty much. But something more approachable that people can actually learn the song and let it live inside them, I think is a good thing.
Good.
Yeah, and I think something we've got to keep in mind too is that those of us who are involved in the music, we might be listening to a bunch of different songs that we're considering, then we chart them perhaps, then we rehearse them, we sound check them, we have engaged with this song maybe 15, 20, 30 times before the congregation hears it once. And a lot of times musicians in churches, especially the person choosing the songs to add, they're adding songs because they're sick of the old ones. And there is this fun joy for us musicians to learn a new song. You know, it's kind of scratches an itch for all of us. So my tendency is to try to not do that. Try to hear these new songs through the ears of the congregation, because they will tire of these songs a lot more slowly than we do. And then I found, like you said, Tom, I think, you've got to really assess your people, your congregation. I've found that congregations who listen to a lot of Christian contemporary radio or are going to a lot of events, they are ready for the new song a lot faster than my home Presbyterian congregation, who like the last thing they listen to is Christian radio. You know, so for some people it's like, if they don't do that song that's huge right now, then it's going to feel like something's missing from their lives perhaps, I don't know. Now, we don't want to be doing songs so people are entertained by them, but the voice of the congregation singing a song passionately often happens when it's a new song. But sometimes it happens when it's an old song. So I'm really with you. You know, you've got to measure your congregation no more than 2 a month, more like 1 new song a month for me. And it really depends on the song, how it's introduced. I like this idea of playing it and letting people listen. I would be making it absolutely clear, hey, this is a new song. Don't feel uncomfortable if you don't quite know it yet. Feel free to listen to this one and join us as soon as you're able. You know, things like that, especially when the melody is very simple and singable. I found that you may not need to introduce a song just before the service or after the service if it's simple enough. And you know, I found that some groups of people, they love you to teach the song to them. You know, it's almost a dying skill, but I used to be an elementary school teacher. I love saying, hey, let me teach you this chorus. When the chorus hits, you'll know what to do. Here's the first line, repeat it after me. You know, I've done that, and it's terribly clunky for some church groups, but other church groups love it. So yeah, it's really, you've got to assess your group of people and do what's right there, but don't be swayed into this, oh, I want to do a new song because I want to do a new song. Yeah?
Yeah, I've said for years that as a worship leader, I'm going to tire of the song long before the congregation. And when this song seems old to me, oftentimes for them, it's just coming into life.
Yeah.
And so,
Great point.
yeah, you're right. We have to watch that. We have to be cautious of that.
That's a great point. I've had congregation members come to me saying, wow, we just got to learn that song, and it seems like it's been thrown, you know, we don't ever do it again. And they catching up with the new material, and because they having to read the words off the screen, they're not really worshiping God because they're still trying to remember the melody line and get all those words, because a lot of the newer songs are three verses, a bridge, chorus. And so I think we do need to be mindful of that and keep a good base of well-known songs in the mix all the time so that people have the opportunity to connect with God through the material.
Absolutely. Good stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Good question, Josh. Thank you.